thing really brings back memories. I cut my teeth on one of these old rigs. That's typical. Door handle missing. Originally had a 216 in it, I believe. Somebody's upgraded it to a 235. Seems to be a good old motor. Doesn't have any rattles, no lifter noise or anything. It's pretty smooth. Never got much miles on it. The guy I got it from, I got a history of this truck. I unloaded apples off of this thing back in 1973, 74, and sure brings back memories. My dad always had an old truck like this as long as I can remember, as far back as I can remember. Usually a pickup. This is a 1.5 tons, I think. Just an old fruit hauler. You bring them down all 6 or 8 bins at a time. But it did the job. Well, I'm going to check Fred's antifreeze, and I got to bleed the brakes on it, but I had to wait till I get some help for that. That was a handy thing where they put that starter down there so you could give her a little gas at the same time you're cranking it over. And here's a concern that I have. I'm afraid I'll be out working on this thing and old Fred will jump into gear. Sometimes they jump out of gear. This one wants to jump into gear. So I always put it over here next to reverse. It don't fall into reverse, but I'm afraid it'd fall into a forward gear. Need to remedy that. First ride I ever took was probably in an old rig about like this. And all the time I was growing up, my dad had an old pickup like this, and that's very common to have the door handle missing or stripped, and he always had an old pair of vice grips clamped onto the window crank, and so that's tradition right there. He was always hauling hogs or logs or hay, hog feed. Always running an old truck about like this, an old 4950 somewhere in there. Chevy or a GMC, that's what he always had, so that's what I learned to work on, was them old 216 6-cylinders. And boy, Fred, your windshield's a mess, man. That ain't been washed in a couple of years. Yeah, this one's been upgraded to a 235, but I think originally it would have had a 216. But that's what I always learned to work on and helped my dad with. He had one of these that was about a 1 ton maybe, but it had no flatbed on it, so we could haul oak fence posts. We used to cut and split a lot of oak posts and sell them. And I remember in the wintertime he'd come in and get a bucket of coals out of the old wood heating stove and take it out and set a bucket of coals underneath that old truck so it warmed the oil up and he could get it started in the wintertime. So wonder it didn't catch the thing on fire. Anyway, that's how it was. Going to try and drive it to town, but I don't have plates on it. I don't have tabs, and I need to get a collector plate and put on it because I'm not going to haul anything with it. But the brakes are not good enough to drive it out on the road. I have to pump the brakes, and I don't want to drive it like that. So I need to get the brakes bled, and I'll have to go in there and look around. I think I got one of them little siphon rigs so you can bleed brakes by yourself. It's just easier if you got somebody to pump it up and hold it. That's how we always did her. Oh, Fred, your horn works. How about that? Oh, rude. Okay, that's enough. That's enough reminiscing, I guess. Just want to get old Fred out and stretch his legs a little bit. Down in Granny Low. I used to call that compound low. I'm about out of tape in this camera, I think. It's gonna be a short ride.